Hey y'all, Katie here with Team Evawazy, and welcome to the Arizona Monthly Market Housing Update with Matt and Katie, where you learn all about the greater Phoenix area housing market, including information on interest rates, what's happening with housing prices, and tips and tricks for buyers and sellers. Please like, subscribe, and download our episode so that we can continue to get this real news out to the real people.
Hey everybody, it's Katie and
Matt and
Ryan.
what's up?
What's up,
Welcome
guys?
back. It is
hello.
the monthly market update. There's
Yes.
more to it in there. A little hesitation there, but here we are back again. We have been doing this for quite some time, guys. Thank you so much for your time. I know time is precious, and I appreciate both of you being here and bringing your expertise to the table each and every month for our audience. So let's kick it off like we always do with Ryan. Let's talk about rates, where we've been, where are we at, and where are we going, sir?
Yeah, gosh, we have a lot to catch up on, So a quick update, 2024 really started off just as we had expected. Rates continued to drop, starting in October of 2023 and really had continued into January. But February was unexpected, and we saw a jump in rates. It was a tough month. There were a few things that led to this. Number one, the inflation readings from January came in higher than expected. And instead of a drop, the consumer price index, which is an inflation measurement, increased because of a surprising month over month increase in average rents. And as a reminder, I know we talk about it a lot. When inflation goes up, this does pressure mortgage rates higher. And to add to this news, a number of Federal Reserve members spoke after these numbers came out, these hotter inflation numbers. And they did confirm, of course, as everybody knows is going to happen, there will be rate cuts this year in 2024, but it may be later in the year. It may not be as soon as we were hoping. So between these higher inflation numbers and the delay in rate cuts, it was a perfect storm to really get rates higher in February. But fortunately, March has been much better, for mortgage rates so far. I know we're only 7 days in, but some other inflation numbers came out and they were in line with estimates. That there is a weakening in the job market, which is really pressuring rates lower as well. And after a couple of days, we actually dipped below a 7% with conventional rates. It kind of peaked over 7% again. So now we're below it on average. So that's good news because we're kind of getting back on track. And gosh, it's been a while. I mentioned this analogy before. I thought it was kind of silly, but I actually got some good feedback about it. So I'll mention it again. Interest rates this year are kind of similar to a yo-yo on an escalator going down. The escalator's going down, and this symbolizes the major trend in rates for 2024. But as the trend is going lower, you still have that yo-yo being used and going up and down on that escalator. So it's not a straight line. We'll see small jumps, we'll see, small decreases, but, just keep an eye on the overall escalator, which the overall trend of the market is going down.
Well, that's good to hear. Are you still seeing a lot of rate buy down activity? Can you jump into that just a little bit as far as contracts that you're seeing come across on your end?
We are, especially with the increase in rates in February. As we're negotiating home purchases, we have seen a lot of our buyers, asking for seller concessions to buy down the rate. I know we spoke about it before on previous recordings, but there's great programs out there like the 2-1 buy down or 3-1 buy down, where you get your first year, the rate's 3% less than the market or 2%. And that does have to be paid for by the seller. So we do see a lot of people negotiating, getting seller concessions and seller paid closing costs to cover these buy downs, to make the payments lower the first couple of years as we wait for rates to go down.
Yeah, we're absolutely seeing those come across in contracts when we're receiving offers on our properties, our listings. And then also when we were negotiating for buyers, we are negotiating for that rate buy down too quite a bit. I know that it's very enticing for them. Can you explain now? There are a few different types, right? So there's a permanent buy down, which we don't really talk about too much. Can you talk about that?
Yeah.
Yeah, so a permanent buy down is exactly what it sounds like. It's buying down the rate, and for 30 years, that's your interest rate. So, for instance, I know I mentioned conventional rates are dipping a little bit below 6% right now. You could pay 1% of that, for instance. Let's just say on a $300,000 purchase price, 1% is $3,000 extra in closing costs, and that will typically buy down your interest rate maybe a quarter to a half a percent, and that's permanent. So for the full 30 years, if you never sell or never refinance, you will get that rate. But the 2-1 buy down is temporary, or the 3-1 buy down is temporary. It's a much more discounted interest rate,
Yeah.
but it's only for 1, 2, or 3 years, depending on the program. The benefit to the 2-1 or 3-1 buy down is if you do refinance between the first 2 years, the money that the seller used to buy down that rate for the first 2 or 3 years, if it's not all used and you pay it off before the adjustments are over, you get some of that refunded back to you. But a permanent buy down, you don't. You pay the money.
Mhm.
Rates do happen to drop over the first couple of years in the mortgage, and you refinance. You don't really get that money back that you use to
Yeah.
permanently buy down the rate. So there's benefits to it both, but a lot of people are planning on refinancing within the next year or two as we are projecting rates to go down. And so sometimes a 2-1 or 3-1 buy down is a better option to get a refund back.
Yeah, those are seemingly more popular than the permanent on our end too. We're seeing a lot of the 2-1 and then the 3-1, just like you said. But we're seeing a lot of concessions in general still. And I just wanted to mention that so that sellers understand that that's probably something that they're going to be dealing with when they're negotiating offers. When they receive that initial offer, there's probably going to be some sort of concession on there. And it's not just closing cost concessions or money toward a rate buy down. We are seeing some things that we didn't see, obviously, for the last couple of years because seller concessions were not really a thing, right? But I'm seeing things like, for instance, right now I have one where the buyer wants us to install a pool fence. And, just kind of some over and above what we'll normally see on a negotiation for the inspection period. We're actually seeing it being requested upfront, some of these things. Even coming right in before inspections and saying, hey, I know the roof is old. I know it's original and this is a 20-year-old home or 24-year-old home, whatever it is. We're going to want a new roof, just letting you know that up front. Like, we're not even going to inspect. We don't care. We want a new roof. So we're seeing things like that come across. How about you, Matt?
Yeah, I absolutely. And I think it's like you said in this Cromford report, it's going to be area specific. There's certain areas of the valley that are going to be more, motivated to give concessions. And then there's going to definitely be areas that are not. But this is something that I think is important. And obviously for sellers, it's very difficult to digest this, especially when you're doing price adjustments and then you're like, wait, I got to give more. But it's important. It's showing that we are in a balanced market. And that's why it's also very important to listen to your agent and the options that you have as far as pricing it appropriately when you hit the market. Because what we are seeing is if you do price things appropriately, you will see results. And yeah.
I totally agree. And thank you for bringing up that heat map that does come from the Cromford report. We appreciate them so much. They have so much information. It's great. And I'm looking at it, or we're all looking at it right now, and it's showing you, if you look at the top right-hand corner, you will see what the colors represent. So the darker the color, the heavier the concession, right? And so you're seeing that in certain areas like Santan Valley, which can totally vouch for, seeing it a lot there. The Coolidge area, Buckeye, Glendale, parts of Phoenix, some parts of the East Valley, like far, far East Valley, are seeing it too. And this map lines up exactly with our current pipeline right now and where we are seeing the heaviest request for concessions.
Yeah, absolutely. But once again, there's a balance to it. And I think, talking about concessions and talking about the market that we're in, the market that we're in is actually, it's really good. And the reason I say that is it's balanced, and everything that we see and can feel that is coming, that we can anticipate, at least, obviously we can't anticipate things, acts of God or
Right.
the government,
Yeah.
but we are seeing a good balance. And there was a news article that actually just came out yesterday, and it was ultimately saying spring market will be more. There'll be more inventory, but that won't be without a catch, without challenges. And ultimately, what it's saying is buyers are going to face intense competition this new spring season. they're saying that new listings are up 20%.
Yeah.
But when you look at our days on market right now, we're only at 17 days on market on average. So
Wow.
that's telling you that there is, if you're priced appropriately, there is demand. If that wasn't the case, we would see a huge uptick in inventory. But once again, we're not. So if the home is ready to go, it's priced appropriately, you are going to see seller favorable responses. That's something that we all need to consider, because what that's telling us is we are on this balanced market, but we're balancing on this tip, and there's a lot more information that's positive that's coming down the pipeline, just like this article said, just like what Ryan said. And there's a much greater chance this is going to tip towards the seller's side, which means that we're going to see a lot less inventory and a lot more competition. With that, you're going to see concessions disappear first. That's
Yeah.
usually how markets are going to correct. You're going to slowly start seeing that disappear, and then the next step would be ultimately people bidding above price. But if you're one of these buyers that's in a situation that you're like, hey, I'm just trying to make sense, I want to make and do the, buy at the right time. It's such a difficult task to kind of quantify in your own mind. Well, you got to think about it. If this is going to be a long-term purchase and it's going to be over 5 years, I think I'd really look at what's exactly happening now and what you're targeting. And do you want to go into this with more cash in your pocket and more options to purchase, with maybe the obligation of paying a little bit higher of a payment for the next few years? Or do you want to be in a situation where you're going to have less to choose from? You're going to probably have to use all your cash for your concessions and stuff, but then have that lower rate or that lower payment. I would definitely really strongly consider option one, because you're going to have more choices. You're going to be able to get those concessions, so you'll have that extra cash to give you that padding for maybe that increased payment over the next couple of years,
Or that
whatever
new
it
roof
is.
or that pool
Yeah.
fence.
Yep.
And whatever you need to do there. And then, like Ryan's always said, you ultimately, you marry the house and you date the rate. It's inevitable. People aren't taking these rate buy downs because they know that there's a very good chance that there's going to be a favorable rate drop that would justify a refinance.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where I'd really, really recommend to buyers in this situation to consider that. It's very important.
I totally agree. Anything you'd like to add to that, Ryan, in terms of what you're seeing for concessions on your end, or how you're seeing those negotiations pan out?
Yeah, I second that. What Matt was saying. I was reading some research. Altos research showed that there was a 19% year-over-year gains in listings. This is nationally, of course. I know Arizona, though, our market has definitely seen an uptick. So we have started to see more and more offers, not just with concessions, but below asking price.
Yeah.
Something was reported that was maybe 30 to 40% right now are being accepted below offer price right now, which is interesting. So not just concessions, but we definitely see some of those lowball offers again, but some of them are getting accepted right now. I think because there is an inventory increase, and of course with some of the negative news of interest rates in February, there's still a lot of people who are on the fence. There's optimism, and we know later on in the year during like the spring and summer buying seasons, things are going to be maybe more primed interest rate wise for buying. So a lot of buyers we still have noticed are kind of on the fence, but the ones who are moving are taking advantage of the increase in inventory right now.
Yeah, for sure. And some of those sellers are pressured, like we've talked about before, are pressured to sell. They have to move. So they've got to make these big moves, right? And we are seeing that as well, whether it be for a job transfer or a change in family dynamic or whatever it is that causes that motivation. But we are seeing buyers win from that.
Yeah, we're also seeing, Coldwell Banker did a survey where consumers were surveyed, and they said they prioritize price almost 60% more than location right now. So we've noticed that because a lot of people are, a lot of our first-time home buyers, initially when we talk to them, we always ask them where they're looking, ideally where they want to be. We're here in the East Valley, so we get a lot of, hey, Chandler, Mesa, Gilbert is where we want to be. As they start looking, seeing what's out there, they're like, maybe we'll expand to Queen Creek, San, and even Casa Grande, and so we have seen that quite a bit. We're kind of seeing the sprawl again, more people kind of moving out to these areas where prices are a little bit more, favorable for first-time home buyers.
Right. And they have the flexibility. I mean, a lot of our clients still work from home, never ended up going back to the office after the pandemic, that kind of thing. Or, their office just went virtual and just got rid of the brick and mortar. So they don't even have an office to go back to. But we are seeing that ability too with some of our clientele where they have that flexibility to be a little bit further out from city center. And these areas that they're going to are growing anyway. So not going to matter in a couple of years. Like Maricopa, I had read something or saw something. I wish I had the slide handy to show it, but they're going to be enhancing the commute to Maricopa, where right now it's kind of a scary 2-lane superhighway. It's not really supposed to be a superhighway, but it feels like it. But there's going to be some enhancements coming down the pipe from ADOT that's going to be increasing the pleasure of traveling to Maricopa. So I know that that's going to be beneficial for that area.
Yeah, we've had a lot of buyers buy out there in Maricopa, and it's a nice little community. It's grown so much. And you're right. If you work remote, you don't even have to use that 2-lane, street.
You really don't.
You got everything you need in that community. So
No.
yeah, a lot of people are electing to go Maricopa, Santan. It's more of a sprawl again. Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, back in the day, so we've all been doing this here in the area for quite some time. We all remember when Maricopa had one subdivision, right? Rancho El Dorado. That was it.
Dorado, yeah.
And now it's huge and they have so many amenities and, there's jobs available in the area, and Maricopa's grown quite a bit. And I'm pretty proud of that area, to be honest. I think they've done a really good job down there. All right, guys.
I think it's going to continue to grow and eventually, and kind of just tailing on what we were talking about, concessions. And if you're approaching this as a first-time home buyer, I think this time specifically is very important for those that are stating, hey, the house that I really want, it's going to require me maybe doing a little bit of saving, adjustment of my lifestyle to get to where I need to be. What I'm realizing is a lot of buyers are in this position that they are actually fully capable of purchasing a home. They're just nervous because it might put them in a position that they're going to have to adjust their lifestyle to do that. And they feel like that might be putting them in a position of being house broke. I never want to tell anyone to bite off more than they can chew.
Right.
But one of the things that I am seeing, and I don't want to see people, like my favorite saying, and Katie always picks on me for saying this, is, but tripping over dollars, chasing dimes. And with this, it's like, if you're in this position that you can fully afford and take care of, and purchase this home, but yeah, when you're doing it, it's probably, you're going to have to tighten the belt. I would almost say that's better. I'd almost say it's better to take advantage of the market conditions right now and your position to leverage your cash, to have options and get the house that you want, and then go into battening down the hatches and living very simple after you get this home, and go on your savings plan and treat your savings plan through your home. I feel like a lot of people are reversing that, and they're like, oh, we're just going to wait. And all they're doing is saving this money and getting in a better position. But when they're finally ready to go, they're going to realize there's going to be a lot less to choose from. They're not going to be getting concessions. And is the payment going to be that much of a difference? And that's a big question that I think people need to ask themselves. If they're like, hey, I need to buy in the next 12 months to 18 months and I'm going to wait, I would really, really look at things.
I agree. And honestly, so I talk with a lot of families. We work with a lot of families, and I talk with them about budget more often than you would think a real estate agent would. And we dive into, okay, well, what are you guys spending your money on? And honestly, like Matt and I, for a family of 3, we can't get in and out of any given restaurant for under $100 usually, right? So are you going out to eat 2 or 3 times a week? Now, all of a sudden, if you can cut that back and you can eat at home and spend a fraction of that amount, now all of a sudden, do you have the extra couple of $100 to make up that difference? So I think sometimes when we take the bird's eye view and look at our situation and look at our spending habits and where we're actually spending, we can pull back a little bit in some areas and not feel it, so to speak.
Yeah.
Is that, you know what I'm saying?
100%. And then, like, if you're a first-time home buyer and you're in a rental situation and that's what you're trying to make sense of, The other thing that you really have to think of is now from switching over to a rental to a purchase, you're going to be having a little portion of that monthly payment that's going towards your principal. And then you also have the tax advantage. So by you even taking on this obligation, you're creating a savings account versus the position that you're in now. So it's just one of those things to kind of look at to say, hey, well, oh, I might be planned and I am allocating 5% of my monthly income towards savings or 10%. But if all of a sudden I buy this house, I'm not going to be able to do that. Well, guess what? You are doing that by making this payment.
Yeah.
You are still putting away, you are creating an asset in an investment. So I think it's just really important to look at that. So you don't kind of fearfully talk yourself out of something that is, feels good right at the moment, but in the long term, it's really might not be the right decision.
I think that is so giant that not a lot of people think of, especially like you mentioned, first-time buyers. They're very, and Ryan, maybe you can interject here, but they're very fixed on the payment. What's my monthly payment? That is like the most important thing. And I totally get that. That's a very important thing. But a lot of times we're missing out on the savings account that we're building by living at the property and still paying to live under a roof. And that's the part where I think people forget about.
I agree 100%. Sometimes the key for first-time homebuyers is just getting into the market. Everybody who I've talked to who said we're going to wait it out are really kicking themselves as they've watched price continue to go up. The key is getting in, and taking advantage of the home appreciation, taking advantage of buying down your loan, building that equity. As home prices go up everywhere else, so does your home. When you want to upgrade, you sell and you take that appreciation and put it into the next house. The key is just getting in. And once you do, of course, you rely on rates going down, refinancing, like Matt was saying, you budget, you save a little bit extra, you maybe don't eat out as much, it's just a matter of just getting in and locking in that purchase price so you could take advantage of the appreciation that we continue to see and we will continue to see.
I agree. I think that is amazing advice that you just need to get in. And oftentimes I'll talk with a first-time buyer and they will think that they need to buy their forever house first. Or their dream house first. And I'm like, no, that's not the way that you start. You gotta kind of, it's a stepping stone, right? And so the first one, the second one, the third, probably even the fourth one, the fifth one is probably even a stepping stone before you get to that forever home, before you get to, that dream place that you see when you close your eyes. So it is a work in progress. And not, I suppose some people can buy their dream home right out of the gate, but most of us, not the case.
Well, no, absolutely not. And everything changes. It's like when you're 16 and you're dreaming about that first car that you buy. You're 16. You don't know anything in life, but you know the car you want and you this is what I want. Now, in reality, did you ever think that you might be buying a minivan? You will
Never.
be. There's a damn good chance you will be. You know what I mean? But you don't
at some
know
point in your
at that
life,
time
you mean?
because things change. Everything changes in life, and you don't see that. And even for first-time homebuyers, you think, "Oh yeah, this might be the home that I'm gonna." Fast forward a decade, and I guarantee there's going to be different ingredients in life, and things are going to be different. So
That's a
I
great
think that's
point.
important.
Yeah, like size requirements might be different, location might be different, like you name it. There's
Everything.
the whole list of things. That's a great point. I think
Everything.
that's important.
Yeah, and that's why
Awesome,
we've
guys.
always, absolutely, good stuff.
Anything else to add?
A great March, everyone.
Good.
Yes.
Enjoy the weather.
It should be a great March. March in Arizona is the reason why we live here, right, guys? Well,
It's a great time.
one of the reasons. I suppose winter is one of them too.
All of them are. There's 365 good reasons.
So true. So true. Well, that wraps up the March monthly market update. If you want to check out any of our previous updates, hop on over to our YouTube channel. It is at Team EvoAZ. That is our handle. You will see years worth of our advice, expertise, and predictions over there, broken up into playlists. Just look for the Arizona monthly market update. If you prefer to listen, maybe you run a lot, bike a lot, hike a lot, then hop over to your favorite, podcast platform and do a quick search for Arizona Real Estate Radio, and you can connect with us there. Thanks again, everybody. We'll see you next month.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.